Hello, everybody. I am Dan Zuck. This is Cheryl Wassenaar, and
Hi,
we are
Dan.
here with Take the Black Live, the weekly show where we dive into all things Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. Kayla Knierim is on vacation today, but as you can see, Cheryl Wassenaar of Culturist fame is here filling in.
I am.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for being
No
here.
problem, Dan. Happy to be here as always.
Great. And hello, everybody watching. Hey, Julie. Good morning, she says, from Australia. Sue, Kenny Adamo. Isn't that a Battlestar Galactica name?
I've never seen Battlestar Galactica. Please
Never mind.
refute all my nerd cred for that one.
And Kathleen. Anyway, we are here to talk all things Game of Thrones, Stuff Fire. We have a packed program for you today. I'm a little nervous. I got some kind of Thrones news to talk about in a minute. But first, let's hit the latest goings-on from the set of Game of Thrones Season 8, where the news never stops.
No, it does not.
Okay, we'll do this quickly, because
Yes.
our main topic today is all things Daenerys. What's she going to do
True.
in Season 8? She's made some, or Emilia Clarke made some pretty incendiary comments. Probably our juiciest yet, but first let's hit the filming news really quick. So, Seville, the
Yes.
Dragon Pit. People have been filming there.
The Dragon Pit.
All
So
the
many
Dragon Pit.
people.
Lots of people. We still don't know who exactly was filming and who wasn't, but we do know that it's over. It
do.
ended a little bit ahead of schedule, which actually means that's the last time Game of Thrones will ever film in Spain ever.
What's the Spanish version of taps? I feel like it would be appropriate.
I have
here.
no idea.
Me neither.
If anybody knows it, hum it for us, or
Please do.
phonetically type it into the comments.
Please do.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a major location for a few years now, and it's just kind of bringing home that this really is the end. It's over in Spain. It's not going to come back. It's
Holding it together here, Dan.
Me too. I appreciate your stoicism.
You're welcome.
As for what they filmed there, hello Michael, hello Marilyn, hello Catherine, greetings to all of you. A lot of characters were in the area.
Yes.
We know that Emilia Clarke never did show up to Seville, which could mean anything, could mean nothing, could mean something.
Pretty sure it's nothing, just because a certain movie that
She's been rather busy.
Yeah, she's busy lately. She's been in France. She's been kind of all over promoting for Solo, a Star Wars story. So it doesn't really surprise / worry me that she never showed up in Seville.
Not really me either.
Yeah.
Who was there? This is one of those great Game of Thrones leaks things that I always like when it happens. A group of extras who play unsullied soldiers posted a picture of themselves at the ruins of Italica, the Dragon Pit, all saying, like, we did it, like the close on the
Classic.
day. And then, of course, a day later, it's gone. Because HBO cracks down on them.
Yep.
But it does tell us that the Unsullied will be at the Dragon Pit.
Yes,
which
it
is
does.
good to know. And, we saw people like Sophie Turner and Maisie Williams and Kit Harington and
Peter Dinklage.
Jacob Anderson, Peter Dinklage. It goes on.
It really
In the
does.
city. So we're just wondering what scene they were filming there. We still don't know, but we do know the Unsullied soldiers will be present, which would hint that at least the Unsullied survive whatever's
Yeah.
coming, even if their queen might, maybe, not, or will. We're not sure.
Yeah. My going theory is that whatever's happening at the Dragon Pit is like a secondary thing to the whole
You
attack
think?
on King's Landing. Because I know Sophie Turner and Peter Dinklage's body doubles were there too.
Good point,
So
yeah.
that makes me kind of concerned that there might be some sort of action.
Well,
that's
I
involved
have
there.
thought about that. The word on that is that the body doubles, I mean, they're used for, like, when you have a scene from behind
That's
the
true.
person's head and
Yeah.
you're just like, the other person's off to lunch.
Right.
So you can still shoot something that they're kind of in the background for.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Because, I mean, like, they've always had body doubles, but they've
Yeah.
never had action scenes.
Exactly. Could be something, could be nothing.
I'm still sticking to it's the final or near the final scene. But I don't know. We just don't know.
Alas.
Rondo, by the way, everybody who's come in, and Kenny Adama has confirmed it's Adama, not Adamo, and he'll see me at the con.
Oh, yay!
Looking forward to that, Kenny. Say hi.
All right.
Okay, moving on to the next kind of a filming wave, which is going to be in Belfast, the King's Landing set. We have some new pictures.
Oh, man.
I thought we'd just do a quick before and then after that sequence here to see how the Barbican they've built in King's Landing is doing.
You have a vocab word for me, Dan?
I was going to ask, do you know what a Barbican is? Because I had to look it up last night.
Doesn't it refer to like a installation on a wall of some sort?
Basically, yeah. pretty much, of course you'd know it. It's like
Yes!
it's 2 towers above a gate or a moat in a castle. And they've built a really big one in a Belfast, a King's Landing
Yes, they
set.
have.
And we've gotten to watch it over the past couple months go from being in pristine condition. I believe we have the photo. There it is.
There it is.
And then, like a month after that, we saw it in ruins like that. So obviously something happened to it. And then the most recent photo is the same that, but it's now blackened and fire damaged.
Golly gee whiz, Dan, what do you think that could be?
I don't know, Coast Guard or something. Like something... I mean, okay, obviously it's dragons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really like a question at this point, but it's still fun to see the progression.
It
and
is.
to see all the work they're putting into it. Would you go and visit the King's Landing set on a vacation?
I mean, I'm broke, but
Sure.
yes. Eventually, perhaps.
I think it'd be fun.
It would be.
This is the one they're going to leave up after we're all done with this, so people can go visit it.
Right.
And it's a great choice because it's enormous. They've
It
built a
is.
little city.
They've put work into this one.
Exactly. Okay.
All
so
right.
now that we've gone through some of the filming news, let's hit some of these quotes from Emilia Clarke, the mother of dragons, who is currently on the biggest press blitz of all time promoting Solo, a Star Wars story. I mean, she's everywhere.
Yes. That is not inaccurate.
Did you see the video of her recreating stock photos?
I didn't, but now I need to.
I really recommend you do. It's pretty great.
Okay, good.
She's really fun. I mean,
She is
she
really
seems like
funny.
a really just kind of funny, wacky person.
I read her Vanity Fair profile today, and it was pretty great, honestly.
It was.
Not just for the things she said, because, oh boy, did she say things. She said many things, but that's what you're here for, Dan, among other
True.
things, to tell us what she said.
By the way, Jeff reminds us accurately that they do shoot out of sequence.
They do.
So just because they're shooting at Italica, which is Dragonstone, doesn't mean that it is the end. Just because what we're going to talk about right now with Emilia Clarke doesn't mean that it's the end for her, because they
Right.
do shoot out of sequence.
They do.
But it's just a feeling I get. Anyway, Emilia Clarke, this Vanity Fair interview, very long, very lengthy, very good. I recommend it if you haven't read it.
For sure.
She dropped some choice quotes about what's to come for Daenerys in Season
Primo.
8. Okay, so she confirmed that she has filmed her final scene as Daenerys.
Okay.
Doesn't mean her death, just means whatever Daenerys' last scene is, whether that's an epic speech, whether that's her sitting down on the throne, whether that's her in her grave, whatever.
Yeah.
She's shot it.
Yes.
And she said, quote, "It fucked me up, knowing that that is going to be a lasting flavor in someone's mouth of what Daenerys is."
You said a naughty... Okay, she said it
Emilia
first.
Clarke said a naughty word. She
said it
actually
first.
is quite cheerfully vulgar. Like
She
in this
is!
interview. She was dropping bombs all over the place.
It was great.
It is. It's fun.
But yeah, that... I don't know how exactly to react to that. My gut is she does something that is kind of cold for Daenerys, I guess.
Or like distasteful or something.
Maybe distasteful. Maybe just like
Maybe
straight
less
up
than
cold.
heroic?
Yeah, less than heroic would be a good way to put it. I don't want to say like she goes full Cersei or anything, but the fact that she says, yeah, this is going to leave a lasting taste in people's mouths of what she is, kind of makes me think it's going to kind of fundamentally change
That'd be exciting.
what we perceive of Daenerys. And for that to be the last scene is kind of, I don't know, exciting in a lot of ways, but also a little terrifying. Like, what will our Khaleesi do?
And then you pair that with the other thing she said, which is, this is a direct quote from her again, "I'm doing all this weird shit. You'll know what I mean when you see it."
More visions. More visions. No, I don't know.
I mean, just the language alone, it's not like crazy upbeat. It does kind of point to maybe Daenerys, I mean, as I'm sure she will, run in with some, encounter some challenges and difficulties.
Yes.
Which is great. I mean, that's what Game of Thrones is. I don't expect it to be clear sailing.
Right. No, absolutely not. I mean, it's the final season. We have to have this kind of big action and stuff. And there's going to have to be some hard choices made about what is worth saving of the Seven Kingdoms
Ooh,
as
good call.
as a kind of institution. I mean, Daenerys has always been about kind of breaking the wheel. Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of room. I don't want to say she's going to go like full anti-hero or something, because that would be not great, I guess. I don't know. I don't trust the writers to maybe do that exactly well. But I think there's definitely room for her to do some sorts of actions that we find not going like, oh, hell yeah, Khaleesi did that. But more like, oh, she did that.
She did that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been set up. I mean, there are some fans who argue, like the loot train attack last season.
Exactly.
We saw it from the Lannisters' perspective, and it was just, you see Daenerys on this dragon burning all these people, and even though we like her, from Jaime's perspective, it's horrifying.
Exactly.
So maybe it's all a matter of how you view it.
From a certain point of view, to make the inevitable Star Wars joke.
Sure. Which bit is that from?
Everything is true from a certain point of view. It's from Return of the Jedi.
Gotcha.
It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Cool. Like, I know Battlestar Galactica, I didn't know that. It's
Okay. Nerd cred restored. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, she also said, I mean, I think we all expected this, that she will film scenes with Sansa and Arya. Pretty great.
I know. I love how they just casually drop that in there.
I mean, it's not a surprise, is it?
It's not really a surprise, but it's interesting that we get kind of official confirmation of it rather than having to kind of go through the shadows of the shadowy world of spoilers to figure that out. I mean, we all kind of had the inkling that that was going to happen.
I mean, yeah, because she's heading north.
Exactly.
And they are in the north.
They are.
And really, they're some of the few big stars who haven't yet had scenes together.
Exactly. I think I wrote this up. That'll be coming live on Culturist. But I guessed at a couple stars she also might be filming with, aside from them, because they say top. They said top stars.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. And they said including. So I did make a couple guesses as to who it is and who it isn't.
Who'd you guess?
I can't tell you. Well, I did say...
You can tell me your guess.
I did say Nikolaj Coster-Waldau and Lena
Headey that'd be cool.
are out because it's not the first time that she would be filming with either of them. So...
Well, I guess she never really filmed a scene with Jaime.
No.
It was more a near brush with death in front of a green screen at different parts of the world.
But I think that might count as not
see it.
an actual... So not the first time.
By the way, Julie suggests, maybe she condemns Tyrion to death after he betrays her. That'd be a fun twist.
Whoa! Now I want to see that. Thank you, Julie.
I figured it might have something to do with the inevitable incest revelation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already squicky, and there's no way that...
You can't unsquick that quick.
That can't have a completely clean ending.
No, it cannot.
Like, the pee's already in the pool. It's already been poisoned a bit.
What a comparison, Dan.
I thought it was pretty accurate.
I mean, it's not wrong. I'm just saying this is the kind of show we're on today.
Exactly. She's dropping the F-bomb. I'm talking about that. Anyway, she also finally, in a Hollywood Reporter podcast, brought up this idea of multiple endings again, that they're filming them.
Yeah.
I think it's a smokescreen.
Agreed.
She said, I'll just read part of the quote. I don't know that I even know the ending now. I'm being serious. I think they're filming a bunch of stuff, and they're not telling us, I'm being serious. I'm being deadly serious. I think that they don't even trust us. There's lots of different endings that could happen. I think we're doing all of them, and we aren't being told which is actually what's going to happen.
So Clue, but with dragons. No, just kidding.
I feel like if you say you're serious 8 times,
you're not serious.
You're trying to deflect.
You're not serious. No, I totally agree. I think that kind of multiple endings thing. I mean, sure, they could be filming a couple different things. They might figure it out at the end, like, okay, which is the one we actually want to do. But I don't think that they're not going to, like, tell the cast at some point.
I think it'll be obvious.
Yeah.
Like, which one's the real one if they do anything sneaky.
Exactly.
But I will say, they have kept a much better lid this year on spoilers.
True, we don't know the entire plot of the season.
Kudos on, we really did, like by this point, we were in.
We knew about everything.
Exactly. So congratulations to HBO for doing that. You really have kept a much better, tighter lid. It only took 8 years.
Took words right out of my mouth, Dan.
But it got there. Before you go, I want to ask you one quick question, something we didn't cover, a non-Game of Thrones thing. Because Lord of the Rings, also a big fantasy tentpole.
Oh boy, Dan, you know my feelings on this.
Actually, I don't. I
the show in general, not the latest rumor.
Gotcha. I heard about this. Amazon's making this Lord of the Rings show.
They are.
$500 million. I think it might be about young Aragorn.
I mean,
what do you think of that?
Sure, I guess. I mean, you get the whole epic love story of Aragorn and Arwen, then I guess.
I suppose.
But I don't know. I'm that person who's like, why do we need a Lord of the Rings series?
Money.
Well, aside from money. So I don't know. I think it makes sense because it's a familiar character that was popular. I mean, Viggo Mortensen cannot be replaced.
No.
IMO. But I do think that is a logical idea, if maybe not the most inspired one.
I like that take a lot.
There we go.
Makes sense, not particularly inspired, but we'll see. It might just be a rumor.
Just be a rumor.
I want to get your opinion on that. And before we head out, let's remind everybody that, well, two things. A, we're on iTunes and Google Play, and you can download us in podcast form to listen as you drive to work or whatever. And B, Con of Thrones is coming up this weekend. The biggest Game of Thrones convention of its kind in Dallas, Texas. I've missaid it's Houston four separate occasions. But it's on Dallas at the Hyatt Regency. I will be there. I'll be on 3 different panels. I'll be interviewing some of the stars. It'll be very, very exciting. And if you're seeing, I know that Kenny's going. If anybody else is going, say hi. I'd love to talk to you and get your thoughts.
He's very nice in person, guys. I promise.
I think I am. And I'll be on the Queering Westeros panel on Friday about homosexuality in the World of Ice and Fire. I'll be on How Game of Thrones Changed the World of Television on Saturday, and then I'll be on the spin-off panel on Sunday.
He's very busy too.
Kind of nervous, but it should be a good time.
I have faith in you, Dan.
Thank you. I have faith in me too.
You're the head of House Selkie.
Thank you.
You have this down. Seriously, if you're going to Con of Thrones, go see his panels. Yeah.
It's too far for Julie, understand, but and Kenny arrived today. So I'll see hopefully I'll see you there, Kenny. And thanks for watching everybody else, Julie. And now we'd like to bring on Mr. Josh Hill for our next segment. Cheryl, thanks so much for filling in for Kayla today.
Always happy to be here, Dan.
All right, let's clap you off.
Oh yeah, get clapped off. Just what a lovely way to say goodbye. All right.
And now we bring on Mr. Josh Hill, fan-sided editor extraordinaire, for our weekly segment, A Song of Dan and Josh, where we go through the Song of Ice and Fire novels one chapter at a time, dissecting them, analyzing them, and adjusting the camera. All right, Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dan. How are you doing? And hello, everybody. How are all of you doing? That's what we're always concerned about.
It is, and I think. Oh, hello, Josh, says Julie. You really won everybody over. Oh, and Kenny is going to see 2 of my panels. Great.
Oh, there you go.
At least one person will be in the audience. I'm nervous about that.
Only 2 of the panels?
I am nervous. I'm not going to lie.
It sounds fun, though.
It does sound
fun.
To
be a part of a panel. Because when you go to those Comic-Cons and stuff, everybody's rushing to try to get to the panels. Yeah. You're what everybody's rushing to try to get to.
See, that's pressure. It's I don't like that position.
Cool. That's how you've made it. That's how you know you've made it.
What if I fail everyone? I also just found out I got to interview, which is exciting, Hannah Murray, who plays Gilly, which is great. But I'm not going to lie, Josh. I'm also a little freaked out. She's a TV person.
It's true. You should exclusively ask her questions about Skins, and that's it.
Did you ever watch Skins?
I did.
Oh, I should consult you then. You should. If you have any Hannah Murray questions, if anybody has any Hannah Murray questions, let me know. What do you want to know from Hannah Murray?
She was also in that Detroit movie. Detroit,
Oh, didn't that fail? The one about the riots?
Yeah, that's for another day, though. That's a rant for another day.
Tonight, I'm going to watch all of Skins and Detroit just to prepare. And then I'm not going to get any sleep. I'm just going to stumble in, punch drunk and not do anything.
Last thing on that, I think Skins, I remember watching it because I was like, oh, that's the girl from Game of Thrones. Gilly. And then Gendry's in it, too.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, look at that.
And he's also there at Con of Thrones. So right. Skins reunion.
They
should have a panel for that. They
Skins
don't, though.
Con. Oh.
Skin Con. Anyway, why we're here today is to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire.
Indeed.
But seriously, I am just kind of working through my own therapy thing here about Con of Thrones, so, you're welcome. And today we read an important chapter.
Yeah, a good
He says,
one.
ask her about Season 8. I will. Daenerys 5, a very important one. By the way, also a little preview. I like to just do one chapter next week because I'm consumed by Con of Thrones. Yeah. So just let me do one. Okay. So, what happened in this chapter, Josh?
It is the infamous eating of the horse's heart.
It is the infamous eating of the horse's heart.
Stuff, and also...
And the infamous execution of Viserys Targaryen via molten gold.
Yes, he found out it was at the end of the rainbow. The pot of gold was not what he wanted. It's not what he thought.
That is a good tagline for something or other.
Yeah, and the chapter started just right...
It did.
Got straight into it. It was like Goodfellas. I was like, she's just eating the heart. It's all my life, I always wanted to eat a horse's heart. And it goes back and tells her story. But no, I did like that.
Yeah,
just kind of jumping
this
right
chapter
into
begins right as Daenerys is chomping down on a horse heart. I'll even read the first line. Why not? The heart was steaming in the cool evening air when Khal Drogo set it before her, raw and bloody. So just right there, we jump right into Daenerys eating the horse heart, which is all. I mean, it's not like a new literary technique, but it's always a good one.
No, it was striking though, because it was.
You thought so?
Well, yeah, because I've read chapters that start like that, in the middle of
In media res.
In media res.
If you want to get Latin with it.
Yeah. But I've never started a chapter like that where the action is somebody consuming a horse's heart. So it was kind of, that was the stunning part of it, where I was like, whoa, we're just diving right into this, which is good because it kind of set the tone for the chapter.
It did. Which it was an eventful. Things are happening.
Eventful and violent chapter.
I mean, my big takeaway from this chapter, I mean, obviously Viserys' death.
Yeah.
But it really kind of distills what made Viserys a failure and why Daenerys succeeded. I think the horse heart incident is kind of the key to that. Like, that's gross. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But she's doing it.
Yep.
Like, Daenerys throws herself into this. Like, she runs down, like, her prep.
Yeah.
Like, her pregame. She drank clotted blood for weeks beforehand to get herself used to it.
Yeah.
She ate raw horse flesh. What else did she do? She practices her victory speech beforehand. She was starving herself for a few days. Like, you go in for one of those doctor visits.
Yeah.
So she could be sure she could keep it down.
Yep.
Like, she was preparing. She was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And what happens? She succeeds. She keeps that horse heart down.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a weird kind of success. I mean, we don't all want to succeed at that. But she knew it was important to earn the Dothraki's trust. And she was willing to put in the work, and she did. And she gets rewarded. And then we have Viserys, who is the complete opposite.
Other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, they point out in this chapter, he still doesn't know the Dothraki language at all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of his downfall, because if he did, maybe he would have heard them saying, okay, get the gold.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He's still in his, his kind of royal rags. He's never worn what the Dothraki wear. And they emphasize that. He said he was wearing his scarlet silk, soiled and travel-stained. His cloak and gloves were black velvet, faded from the sun. His boots were dry and cracked. His silver blonde hair matted and tangled. A long sword swung from his belt with the scabbard. And, of course, crucially, he's carrying a weapon in Vaes Dothrak. And Martin mentions, did you catch that? Just how many times he underlined, you can't carry weapons in the sacred city. Yeah. It is forbidden.
Yep.
You can draw no blood here. I mean, reading this time, I was like, he really pounds that home. I mean, because he has to, because it's set up for the end. When Viserys walks in, has a big old sword. And it's like, well, obviously he's not paying attention to the rules.
No, and he has a bloodless death.
He has a bloodless death.
Well, I imagine. I don't know what goes on under the molten gold, but
yeah, I'm not sure
gory.
Like how many instances of that you can really compare it to in like history. What are your thoughts on that? Did you have any empathy for Viserys at the end? Could he have avoided this fate?
I mean, he absolutely could have avoided the fate. I had zero empathy for him whatsoever because it was. We talked about this before. How many different times did he have a chance to assimilate himself into this culture, to become one with the Dothraki and kind of support his sister? I think I don't know if things would have ended much better for him, because I feel like even if he would have inserted himself into it the way that Daenerys did, I think he maybe still would have been viewed as a threat and as an outsider, and I'm not sure he would have been accepted.
He wasn't married to the call or anything.
No.
He didn't have an in.
But I think maybe he could have played the game a little bit longer if he had played it better. He just kind of came in shooting from the hip and didn't really know what he was doing, didn't bother to learn any of the traditions, right up to the end with carrying the weapons into the sacred city, not learning the language. It was, no empathy whatsoever.
On the other side, I think it makes us like Daenerys more, because, I mean, who doesn't like a hard worker? Who doesn't like someone who's willing to put in the work and do her homework and, like, get rewarded for it, get respect? So it's a good chapter for both of them for very different reasons. What do you think of the moments, and this is on the show pretty much beat for beat, where Daenerys, beforehand, even up to the end, she's still kind of in Viserys' camp. She's like, I mean, he's my king. If he wants the dragon eggs, he can just ask, and I would give them to him. And then it all changes the instant he threatens her baby, where he says, I will cut this out of you and leave it for Drogo, but you're coming with me. Then in her mind it switches to her brother, Viserys, he's my king. She starts calling him in her head this man who had once been her brother, and it goes very cold and very distant. It's pretty great.
I like that. It was the switch. Yeah, that was good. Again, I feel like I say this every single week, but in the book, I felt it a lot more than I did on the show, because you're watching the emotions switch, and it's a little bit easier to pick up on the cues visually when you're watching it on the show. Where here, when you're inside of her head and you feel the switch and you see the switch, and it's like, oh, she's done. She's completely cut. You know, he's shut off. He's cut off. So yeah, I liked it.
It worked. I mean, I think it worked on the show too. Just
it's
a different way.
It's
just because her face goes all blank.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was adapted. Like, this is pretty straight.
Yeah.
But just what struck me about the narration is what she calls him, this man who was once my brother. Like, he's not even using her name anymore.
Yeah.
And it was that 1 second. And again, it's the thing of the setup, where it was emphasized earlier that she was still in his corner. But once you flip that switch, it's like there's no one flipping it.
Yeah.
So she watches as he gets his arm broken. And even at the end, where they have this kind of narration about his death, the sound Viserys made, when that hideous iron helmet covered his face like nothing human. His feet hammered a frantic beat against the dirt floor, slowed, stopped. Thick globs of molten gold dropped down onto his chest, setting the scarlet silk to smoldering. Yet no drop of blood was spilled. And yet she doesn't have any reaction.
No. That was brutal, too, the description. Like,
you think?
Yeah, it was. I wasn't expecting it. Like, I knew what happened, but I wasn't expecting to kind of have a little bit of a gut wrench like I did. Just like the description of, it wasn't so much of the gold, the molten gold. It was him, the thumping of
flailing,
his feet.
and
I was just like, ooh, yeah, that's very visceral. It's.
I mean, part of it is that unique. Like like you said, I can't think of anybody else eating a horse heart. I can't think of anybody else being killed this way. So kudos to Martin for A, finding a unique kind of death, and B, describing it in a visceral kind of gut-punchy way. Julie says he got what he deserved.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's much debate there.
No.
All right. Let's talk about a couple other... That's the main ticket item from this chapter. But there's some other stuff, too. How about Daenerys and Drogo? I'm going to read a little passage here about when she's eaten the horse heart. Daenerys looked at Drogo whenever she felt her strength failing, looked at him, and chewed and swallowed, chewed and swallowed, chewed and swallowed 3 times. Toward the end, Dany thought she glimpsed a fierce pride in his dark, almond-shaped eyes, but she could not be sure. What was interesting to me about them is that, on the show it's pretty clear. Like, they seem to work somehow. And I guess they work here, too. But it's still a situation where they really can't talk. Like, and he is this... large, terrifying man making her eat a horse heart set in front of her. Yeah. Like, do you get the... What's your impression of their relationship just from the text?
It's tough.
I'm not sure she knows.
No.
So I don't know how we're supposed to know.
No, it's... Like, that scene, that little interplay specifically was, like, weirdly sensual in a way, where it's like she's vying for his approval. And he's giving it to her, and it's like, but they're still so distant. And it's this weird, literally like the metaphor of her eating a horse's heart to like signify her love and to signify her, like acceptance,
devotion to this cause.
His devotion and acceptance of his culture,
her commitment.
It's such a weird thing, and I think that's so fitting for their relationship, because it's such a weird, odd thing to try to literally digest, and it's like, and I liked it. It was a good kind of back and forth, because I do feel, and it's on the show too, but here more so because they can't talk, I feel like they're more deeply connected.
I do too.
So, and I kind of got that here with like the subtle things, like she's looking for him when her strength is kind of waning. And that's like...
Because it's a gross horse heart.
Yeah. Well, and like he's her rock and that kind of thing. And that was like a George R. R. Martin's way of like being like, aw, in the middle of somebody eating a horse's heart. So...
Yeah, it works. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of the horse heart being a metaphor kind of for their relationship. It's weird. It's a little obscene and gross. But somehow it's right. Like, in a weird way. Yeah. He also has sex with her in public after she goes into the lake.
Yeah.
And that scene is like 2 sentences. Just sex is done. So she's used to that too. Again, she's really thrown herself into the Dothraki culture. Yeah. Public sex and all.
Well, that's why I liked like the looking back and forth with the horse's heart thing, because that to me is more meaningful than any kind of like the physical connection that George R. R. Martin's trying to show us, because it is a deeper kind of thing for the two of them.
It really is.
That's why I like that, where it's like the sex stuff is kind of throwaway, whereas this is more of the bond between them. And it's like, oh, okay, this isn't just, he's marrying some random teenage girl. This is something.
Yeah, they actually
more
do
real.
have something.
Yeah,
it's good because I think it's easy to overwrite love stuff, like to just. If you access somebody's thoughts, you can just say like, "Oh, he's so handsome and I love him and I'll worship him forever."
Right.
Like I think it's harder to convey that deep sort of emotion in this kind of smaller, offhand, grazing the subject, but not really getting to the heart of it way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I applaud him for that too. It was a good chapter.
It was a good chapter
in terms of his writing.
It was the horse's heart, and then it was when Harry met Sally. I don't know which one which one conveys better, but it's two different things.
Agreed. Okay, bye, Julie. She has to go, but we'll see you next
See
week.
you, Julie.
One other thing I want to talk about before we sign off is prophecy. The prophecy has a weird place in these books and on the show.
Yeah.
You'll see this later, but it plays a much bigger role in the books and on the show. They have some on the show, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
We get one of them here, and the fans like to talk about the prophecies on Game of Thrones. What do they mean? Who do they apply to? Do they apply to this person, that person, this person? We get one from the Dosh Khaleen, the ancient crones of the Dothraki here, when they talk about Daenerys' son. I'm going to read it out loud. As swift as the wind he rides, and behind him his Khalasar covers the earth, men without number, with arcs shining in their hands like blades of razor grass. Fierce as a storm this prince will be, the bells in his hair will sing his coming, and the milkmen in the stone tents will fear his name. So she's talking about Daenerys' son, going to be born, going to lead this big Khalasar, and get the guys in the stone tents, which are people in castles. I guess a couple of questions for you. A, could that apply to Daenerys herself? Because she does go terrorize the men in stone tents. She does lead a huge Khalasar.
Yeah.
And I guess just, are you intrigued by that question at all? Because some fans read a lot into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about, well, this could apply to Jon Snow. This could apply to the Hound or Daenerys or anybody, yada, yada, yada. What's your take on, I guess, the use of prophecy as a narrative device in this one in particular, or in general?
I mean, it's tricky because it's like prophecy is naturally a MacGuffin. It's like, I don't know if it's
right.
actually meaningful to the plot, if it's going to turn out to be something, or if it's just a case where it's, prophecies are misread all the time, and is it just here to kind of lead us in one direction? It's like, just kidding. It's like the old horror thing where, the killer isn't anyone but one of the main cast. It's the supermarket clerk that you saw for 5 seconds at the beginning of the movie, and it turns out he did it all. So it's like that kind of thing where it's like, I don't know how much this means, but I do appreciate how much people put into trying to figure it out. Because I could see how this applies to Daenerys, because
totally.
she
leads a Khalasar, and
and she's a
freaks
child.
out.
So like this is,
child,
if you're applying it to her child, she herself is still a child. So that's kind of that's where I would go with that. And I guess Jon Snow is a child as well, so it could apply to him. So I can see where people are going with these things, but I don't put too much stock into the prophecies, just because it's like, unless there's serious evidence to be like the RLJ thing.
Well, yeah, that's more of a theory.
But that's a theory. So like I lean more into the theories than I do the prophecies, but there is like a Venn diagram where they kind of meet in the middle a little bit.
No, I hear you. I feel like Martin does it on purpose. He puts in a lot of prophecies in these books, and I feel like there are almost so many they're meant, like they can't all be true. Yeah. So they kind of overlap, and fans maybe put a lot of weight into them just because they are, they're natural road marks. Yeah. You want to know the answer to the mystery, the answer to the question. But I guess we can talk about that more as we get into more of them down the line. Oh, Dan Turton quotes, "Prophecy is like a treacherous woman," a quote from A Feast for Crows.
Oh.
There's no follow-up to that. Just imagine the rest of it. I think there is, but I forget what it is. Any other thoughts about this chapter, Josh?
No, it was a really solid chapter.
It was a rollicking chapter.
Did feel, like you said, very closely adapted to what we saw on the show. It is an important chapter, so I don't feel like I would have felt weird if they had changed something or taken, because it's like everything that happened lines up perfectly with where the story is going to go. So there's some things like in the Ned chapters and the John chapters that it's like, okay, I can see why they cut this out, or condensed it into two things into one, or two characters into one character. But this was pretty close.
Which is that last bit with Viserys' death. I mean, there are small changes. Like in the books, I was reading like, oh, there were 1,000 people in the hall.
Yeah.
Like, which is just, you're not going to have that on TV. So
CGI.
in the show, the scene is like, it's in a half the size of this room, or even smaller. And it's like 25 people around there. But I mean, of course, they cut out the public sex. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think Viserys watches the horse heart thing. But yeah, mostly very, very faithful. Anyway, next week, because Kind of Thrones is just dominating my life right now, I think we should just read one chapter.
One chapter.
And then we'll pick up the pace after that. The next one is an Eddard chapter, like always. And we'll reconvene next week at Kind of Thrones. Hope to see anybody who can get there.
Yeah.
And join us next week at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for more Game of Thrones news, more Song of Ice and Fire news, and more of A Song of Dan and Josh. Thanks for watching.